Hey guys, today we'll be talking about Orie. I know there are quite a few upcoming big launches, especially in Q1. Hopefully, all trying to squeeze it maybe before the big thing that's upcoming for this year. Well, we'll take it one at a time. So the first one, Orie, which has already started preview yesterday, 3rd of January. Let's just get started. This is the Orie. As you can see, not too special in terms of the architecture, but it's okay. In fact, we don't want anything that is too special because when it comes to something that is too fancy, so far the track record is that it hasn't really been doing well in the resale market. And as for why, we'll share more next time. Toa Payoh is where I grew up in, so I would say I'm pretty familiar with this area. I still miss it. I'm no longer staying there anymore, but it's okay. This is the exact location of Orie itself, which used to be the Police Security Command. Now it is directly opposite Gem Residences, which most of us should know by now. It is right next to a temple, and if I'm not wrong, there's also a columbarium there, which is probably why part of the reason Gem Residences didn't really do as well as most people think it should, but it's definitely much more than that because there are other factors like multi-story car park and also pretty bad layout, as well as also the dual and the triple key, all these kind of things. I would say if you want to get into a development that's going to be profitable, if you're buying a condo, you want to be attracting buyers that are not so what we call gate when it comes to money. And then you are trying to buy the dual key, triple key. You're trying to squeeze the profit margin. That's why I always say that it is not all about rental yield. There are a lot of people that are trying to squeeze, it's all rental yield, rental yield, rental yield. But eventually when you do the final sums together, you realize that the rental yield is really not everything. There are a lot of other aspects of a profitable development, like generally how it feels and what are the factors that contributes to how this particular development feels. These are much more important, and these are the ones that actually bring in a lot more money than the small little things like rental yield. Basically, like what I always say, rental yield is a little bit more like dividends versus capital appreciation when it comes to stocks. So I would say in that case, properties and stocks are pretty similar. Back to this, Toa Payoh itself doesn't really have a lot of supply. From what we see over here in Toa Payoh, there are 5 condos, not including View, which is a very, very old HUDC. Gem Residences, Travista, these are the two newest one. Oriental Tower is very old, if I'm not wrong, 1998. Trellis Tower is about 2000. Sky 11, if I'm not wrong, is about 2011. We won't be looking at it today because this one is quite a different view. The floor plates there are a lot bigger, and hence the quantum is a lot bigger, and hence it is not really a competitor of the Orie in that sense. This is where Toa Payoh Central is, or rather the main bus of Toa Payoh Central. In between, here and there, just right in front of Orie, there is a lot of food and even NTUC, all these over here. That's why when it comes to convenience, and in Toa Payoh, you won't be complaining of convenience because it is a very mature estate. If I'm not wrong, it is the second oldest estate in Singapore. A lot of things are already developed, have shops everywhere. It is not a very big town in the first place. It is in the central of Singapore. You can go anywhere you want with, I would say, not much traveling time generally if you look at it from a map point of view. Then the next one will be the project details itself. We don't have to look at everything. Generally, I always look at is the land size, which is important. Land size is decent. Number of units 777. Not all units are allocated car park lots, which is okay because in a convenient location like this, like where Toa Payoh is, not everyone will be driving. That's why it is expected that there won't be a one-to-one car park. Next, we have the architect builders, or you can see over here. I'm not too particular about this because we have seen the finishings. They are not so exactly good, but the development still make a lot of money. That's why I'm not too particular about the developer and the contractor. Yes, maybe people may complain here and there and they can make a lot of noise, but the funny thing is that the numbers usually show a totally different side of the story. That's why when it comes to pure investment logic, and this is where I'm focusing in my channel. For those people who are just buying on emotions, I don't think you'll be spending time looking at this video. Therefore, and like what I mentioned a lot of times before, I don't focus too much on where this is as long as it's not too ridiculous. And then this is where the unit mix are interesting. 50% goes towards the smaller units, which most people would think that it is the investment portion, or rather where most investors will be looking at. But nowadays it seems that more and more investors are going towards the bigger units. That's why it is not fair to always just compare that the smaller units are where the investors are, because now more and more investors are actually going more into the bigger ones, and that's why is there actually a market shift in that sense. Let's continue. 3 bedrooms surprisingly only 25%, with the 4 bedroom and 5 bedrooms both add up together about 25%. This is where it gets a little bit interesting, because for the 5 bedrooms there are a total of 77. Usually is maybe only about 5%, or rather one stack for the 5 bedroom. But now this developer is going a little bit ambitious in the sense that there are 2 stacks of 5 bedders over here. You can see stack 2 and stack 12. It seems that the developer over here is very optimistic about the big units demand in Toa Payoh, which, I mean, if I were them, I would be also. But it remains to be seen how much demand will be taken up within the launch day itself. But it is perfectly fine if it doesn't fully sell out, which seems to be the nowadays the people like to gauge according to how popular it is, how successful it is based on the launch day. And in fact, we have seen quite some cases of launch day not doing so well, but eventually the project, when it hits the resale market, it is doing very well. That's why it is not always an accurate gauge. Remember, this is an important factor. Don't gauge the development and don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge it by the first launch itself. There are a lot of other factors that determine whether a development is actually profitable. This is the Dragon Playground, model after the very famous playground, supposedly one of the most famous playgrounds in the world. I'm glad they try to replicate it, but a little bit funny to be throwing it in. Anyway, we are not complaining. These are the small little aspects. As you can see, it is up to 40 floor for Orie. Both towers is going to be quite a nice view. As we can see over here, this is the panoramic view courtesy of the developer. If you are buying the top few floors, this will be your super nice view, but obviously this is going to come at a premium. From what we are seeing over here, we are expecting a price of around maybe 3,000 PSF, which is not going to be cheap at all. This is the site plan. I'm not going to dive too much into it. At least we have a full-size swimming pool and even a tennis court as well. This is where the Dragon Playground is, if I'm not wrong. And then these are the things that you can slowly see at the show flat, which I think doesn't really matter that much over here. We shall not be wasting time over here. These are generally where the floor plans are. As you can see, the facade. Let me just go back to where the first page is. Where the facade is, you can see these funny things, which was quite obvious in Travista, which I feel is not a good thing, because when it comes to nowadays, everyone wants to install zip track and maximize the space in your balcony, right? But with that funny facade thing, it has made it difficult for Travista owners to be installing zip track. But over here, the good thing is that regardless of what the facade is, there's this RC ledge over here. You got all these funny things, but the balcony is still intact, which I appreciate on the part of the developer, that they are more considerate for the buyers. Because nowadays most people, including me now, if I'm paying that amount of space, which is causing easily well into the 6 figures, I definitely want to be able to maximize it and put it something out there through the use of a zip track. That's why they make it easier for you. No guarantees that whether there's going to be allowed next time, but chances are going to be likely. But make sure you do a due diligence before that. Rooms are generally quite decent size, which I think is a big problem when it comes to gem residences. So in terms of layout, I think Orie is pretty good in that sense. Supply for Toa Payoh in this area, not much, as you can see. And if we go into the 1 km radius, there is about 2,000 plus units within the 1 km radius, comparatively to other places like EOK, where I think, if I'm not wrong, EOK, that site is about 5 figures supply. This is a very small number already. That's why I'm not too concerned about supply. Is more of the other factors like layout and prices and all the other factors that combine together. Over here, I'm not too worried about supply. Hence, we move on to 4 developments in this area. before Orie. Just now we pointed out these four of them: Oleander, Travis Star, Gem, and also Travis Towers. These are the age that you can see over here. Other than this guy, which is freehold, the rest are leasehold. This is very, very, very old. This one not really truly a competitor, but as you can see that it was generally stuck for the longest time before it recently went up. For those people who keep thinking that it's gonna keep going up, I really don't want to be betting that. If I'm putting in a few $1,000,000, I don't want to be putting my money just to bet on something. It is not definitely something that I will play around with, because a few $1,000,000 is really no joke. What we can see over here is that Trellis, Gem, and Oleander now, despite the age, has converged in terms of pricing at around 1,900 plus to 2,000 PSF. And what we are expecting over here, Orie break even, I didn't include the slide unfortunately, but it's expected from Edge Prop is about 2,300 plus. Okay, I wanted to include the slide, but I forgot about it. Apologies, but it's okay. If I remember correctly at the back of my mind, land price is about 1,300 plus PSF PPR, and then break even is about 2,300 plus PSF. When it comes to the break even 2,300 plus, I don't think the developer will be selling anything around 2,300, because they won't be selling only at break even price. As for the expected pricing, what we are seeing is currently about 2,400 plus to about 2,500 plus, depending on the layout. Therefore, if we add in the floor loading here and there, average we should be looking at 2,600 plus to 2,700 plus. If 2,700, if we're looking at that, that means we will be looking at 2,700 over here. 2,700, and if you look at the gap over here, this is easily looking at 700 plus PSF. And before we are just generalizing on this, remember, just a quick forward, this is Travis Star and this is Gem Residences, the closest competitor to Orie. They are generally transacting around 1,800 plus to 2,000 PSF. And what we are seeing is that the 2,000s are the very, very, very high floors. If we are looking at Orie at this kind of flooring, we are expecting something that is much closer to the 3,000 PSF mark. That means we will be seeing a price gap of around 1,000 PSF, which is not a small gap at all. That is something that you guys may want to be concerned about, because 1,000 PSF is really not something that the resale market can easily swallow unless there are a lot of different underlying factors. Same goes for Gem Residences, the newest key on the block. This guy is the one with the highest PSF, but what I managed to find out is that this guy is a third owner, if I'm not wrong, because previously it was sold back in 2021, and why it managed to sell higher than the rest is probably because of the renovation that was done previously back in 2021. Other than that, which is the anomaly, the rest are transacting around 1,900 to 2,000, possibly because of the different factors that I mentioned earlier in this video. Therefore, if we want to really compare, use this guy over here, which is a smaller unit but almost highest floor, is transacting actually not even at 2,000 PSF. This one, same thing also over here. So what we are generally seeing over here is that the Gem Residences higher floors are the ones that are bashing 1,900 to 2,000 PSF, which if we compare apple to apple to Orie, that means the gap is really about 1,000 PSF, which brings us to this is where the resales are. That means the higher floors to compare will be around this at 1,000 PSF. If today you're buying for investment, which is probably why you are looking at this channel right now, then you gotta be really, really careful, because 1,000 PSF, like what I mentioned just now, is not a small deal at all. Will this make sense? Because if today you are buying at 2,900 PSF, how much do you have to exit? That is something that you really have to think about, because minimally from what I look at, you have to be exiting at 3,300 to 3,400 PSF. Will that come true in the resale market in Toa Payoh for a leasehold 4 to 5 years later? I think that leaves quite a bit of doubt for a lot of people, and that's why you gotta be really careful. There is no doubt gonna be a lot of hype, a lot of crowd, a lot of checks that are gonna be collected for the Orie. But important thing is, if you are gonna be an investor that has to be very, very logical and rational, then you gotta be really careful about what you are getting into, how much price are you getting into, and then how much exactly are you going to exit, how realistic your exit is going to be. So be careful about that. From the master plan point of view, there are not many land in Toa Payoh itself other than the newer part, which is the Caldecott part. This piece of land is still a question mark. The BTOs, all these, from the looks of it, it seems like government is putting in more BTOs over there. Whether it's going to be a condo land, that one is a question mark as well. I don't want to be speculating and I don't want to be guessing. There are some empty plots of land. Some people say that is the last piece of land. Yes, theoretically not wrong, because if you're talking about the core Toa Payoh, yes it is. But if you're talking about Caldecott side, then maybe not. But how much of it is going to be private, or is there even going to be a private? I don't want to be speculating. That's why we have to be doing our due diligence. Go for something that is safer, more rational, especially from a point of view as an investor. Generally, remember, when it comes to new launches, there is definitely going to be a lot of hype. Don't go in just because everyone is there, everyone is crowding around. Developer dangle a low starting from price, and then you expect that the high floors are going to be selling at 2004, 2005. This is going to be a good deal. If it's going to be selling the very, very, very high floors at 2005, I definitely will be queuing up and buying. I definitely don't see that it's happening. So, and if you are looking at opportunities today in this market, feel free to reach out. I think there are a lot of other good opportunities lying around if you want to be profitable. But then again, I'm not saying that Orie will not definitely make money. It really depends on, first of all, your queue number, how much exactly you're getting into, and the most important part is how much and when exactly are you going to be exiting. A lot of people bought into the right product, right pricing, but exit wrongly at the wrong time at the wrong price. And this is why it is so crucial and so important to be informed when it comes to the real estate market. That will be all we have for today. Take care, guys. If any questions, remember you know what to do. See you. Bye bye.